Cool.
Talk about
So
your team, and then we'll talk about my team since
yeah,
we're both sadly on different.
yeah. Sadly, different teams, but hey, there's a chance that we get on the same team later on
Yes, hope
if one of us
hopefully.
performs well or the other one performs badly. Um, but I want to welcome everybody this week to another episode of the Dangerous Game Podcast. As always, I am your host, Lord Nick, and joining me this week is a different friend of mine. Actually, this time I'm being joined by my friend UTSA. You might hear me call him Dan every now and then. Uh,
Yeah,
we've been friends for a very long time.
yeah. One of
Um,
your oldest friends.
Definitely one of my oldest friends at this point and longest enemy. Um, and but we are both going to be talking about this week the fact that we both made the NMU collegiate esports team is going to be our first topic that we're going to be talking about certain opinions that we have of our team so far. He made the varsity as the mid laner, which is very impressive for first season coming in, and I'm looking to be the jungle slash mid slash top slash potentially ADC slash potentially wherever the coach puts me on the JV team. So yeah, let's get jumping into it, I guess. So the question that you posed to start us off here is the idea of what is our opinion of our team, right? So of the JV team, of the people that I know so far, because so far I have not gotten to meet two of the players with much to know about them. But of the other two, I already have somewhat of a rapport with the two of them. I like them personally. I like the playstyle of one of them, our top laner so far. I love his playstyle. He's very happy playing weak side. Yeah, or not. I don't know happy, but he's comfortable playing weak side. And he's expressing interest with the ability to potentially become a carry because one of the things that the JV team actually lacks, and the coach and I both agreed, is a potential carry on that team. Not due to the fact that none of us have that potential to become it, but none of us actively play that type of role. You know, our ADC is an ADC player, but that's a late game kind of option there. So I mean, if we want to kind of play the slow game, that's an option. But both me and the other person going for jungle both play more of a either tank or supportive style, which makes it a little bit more difficult in this kind of meta. Trying to, okay, we have two junglers to work with, but neither of us really play that kind of super hard carry jungle position. We don't have an active choice for who will be mid. There's still three of us tossed up in the air as to who will become the first mid laner for that. And then our top laner, like I said, he is very much more comfortable playing on a weak side. So we are missing that potential carry. So that is the one downside to it. If I went to mid, I mean, it doesn't net us a real carry. It puts me in a position where I generally play a support style mid. So I feel like we have a lot of potential work that we can figure it out. It's just going to be very interesting these first couple of weeks trying to find the identity of our team. I cannot wait for the clash this weekend to do so, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm a little bit nervous, but hey, we could become the amateur version of Team Liquid. Slow and steady wins that race, my boy.
Have y'all, you and the people you've been in contact with, talked about maybe like getting in some fives games before Clash at all?
I
Or
I want to, but it does not seem like we all have the same schedule of when we are on. Our top laner is finishing out his amateur league in another league that he was already in. Our ADC is not on very often, so we haven't really talked to him much. Our support slash mid, I have barely talked to her at all, and so I've tried to get people together to try to make sure we get this clash going and make sure that we do some practices, but nobody's really responding. Hopefully tomorrow we can get some games in, or some games throughout Saturday, hopefully. Um, but yeah, so far, not a whole lot of team communication going on yet. But here's hoping that changes.
gotcha. Yeah. I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to play a couple of fives games with our team, and I'm really liking our team. I mean, from the first game that we played together, we all worked really well together. So that's something I'm hoping for your team. Um, we all kind of like going back to that carry role kind of thing. We all kind of take that role. Specifically me and the top laner. I thought coming into this I was gonna do worse because when we were doing our first flex fives, I was a little bit intimidated. But it just doing so well in those games made me, comfortable in my affirmation that I'm, uh, still I still got it, because like going from normals to ranked five, where we have to communicate, I was worried there's gonna be some kind of disconnect, but everything worked out pretty well. Um, Everybody's on too, which is crazy to think about. Because everybody's generally like on at the same time, which is usually like after 5 o'clock. Um, and I hope that's something that the academy team can get kind of figured out. Because I understand that there's like a disconnect in your support, right? There, he's like a lower elo player.
So we technically have a 6-man roster. So we do have a guy who's coming on as a backup support, I guess.
Okay.
Beg likes to call him the prospect. He is a bronze 2, almost brand new to the game. He's been playing for only a couple of months. So
Prodigy.
yeah, this is our bronze 2 build up prodigy, and I'm really hoping we can give him some assistance. And I think actually having somebody of that elo is going to be good for our team, though. Nonetheless, not necessarily for playing with us, but giving us a person that we can kind of test our test our theories on. Is my thought.
Yeah, no,
Is
yeah,
like
I
definitely
understand
like,
that.
hey, if he can start making this work, and we can start figuring out ways to assist him in getting better, inevitably we might end up with a really good player out of him, and also it allows us to kind of have that other person that's just like eager to learn. That as a team we can come together and kind of like become that nurturing environment. Hopefully, I have no idea of the opinions of the others on that. I have no
Uh,
idea how the rest of my team feels about even growing as a team right now. So that's should be interesting.
and I imagine it's a little concerning at this point, but I think if like everybody gets clashed together and we can finally get, our first, competitive environment where we're playing as fives, then everything that comes after will come out pretty smoothly.
I am hoping for that. I'm hoping that this first taste of competitiveness will help kind of uniformly bring us together. But um, I mean, the only person I have ever like almost more consistent contact with is the top laner. But that was because he and I were going to be on the same team to begin with, and we're the only two from the original roster that have held over for it. So
And
uh,
he seems like he's on all the time as well.
he is on a lot. He does not, to my knowledge, he does not currently work. So he just spends all of his time either playing solo queue or playing with his amateur team, and he has a lot of good core to him. So I'm not
He
I'm
seemed
not
when I yeah,
I'm
when I
not
played
afraid of him.
against him.
I'm not afraid that he will be anywhere close to a weak point on the team. If anything, he's probably the strongest member we have on the team right now. Um, it is definitely going to be difficult with the fact that our only real mid laner is secondary mid, which is not comforting.
Yeah.
It's not super comforting because that is one of the most integral roles. But they also are the person that also has the most potential for conflict in their schedule. So that also makes it a little bit less comforting for the longevity of our current roster. But things might change,
I
and I'm not.
I haven't seen your ADC at all. Like your ADC slash mid laner.
To be honest, so when I was playing against him during his tryouts, I was the mid laner, and very seldom was I ever needed towards the bot side of the map to help, just because Dante was playing against him, and Dante is a
Oh yeah,
very good laning ADC. He's
Dante.
very
Yes, I've played with Dante yesterday during our games, and he's fantastic. I think our ADC and our support work really well together.
oh definitely
Um,
the two of them were so on point during the tryouts. Um, for some of the players, including the support actually. Um, and unfortunately, Milla just didn't look as strong in that situation. Not necessarily that he was a bad player, but trying to compare him to somebody who has that core strength that Dante has is really hard to evaluate where his strengths were for me. Also, not playing directly against him or being in a role that impacted him as much just didn't allow me to really get to grasp how good of an ADC he is.
Judging based on his match history, he seems pretty good in his elo. Like he's doing well in his games, and I'm going off his match history just because that's the only thing I can go off of. So I mean, judged based on that, I think you shouldn't have any worried. Like you said, it could have been just like a skill discrepancy between
Skill
Dante
discrepancy,
and him.
nerves,
Definitely nerves.
probably a bit of unfamiliarity with the people he's with.
Yeah,
Dante's already played with me had already played with me previously, so there was already, if I already knew to play around him if I needed to. And he's also just fine with taking a back seat, which is something that not a lot of ADCs have become inherently good at this season. So it's one of those things that the adjustment that this season requires is quite a bit for a lot of ADC mains. So there's a lot of factors that probably add into it. But I'm not worried per se about, like I said, the biggest thing that I have worried about the team right now is going to be the fact that we don't have a core shaken out roster and positions. Our roster is just kind of be, people. There's going to be at least one person doing a role swap,
yeah.
and that's a little bit frightening to me, just because our chances. We have like 6 months to prepare for it, but still.
And back to the nerves thing. I mean, nerves definitely play a big part in all of this. I mean, just in I played to start off the day yesterday. I played a ranked flex game with two people on our team. It was Dante and Merkexis, or not. It was not in my house and Merkexis, and I was like I was pretty nervous. I don't know if you saw the clip that was posted in clips where I accidentally gold carded a turret instead of the Darius.
Oh, I did
But
not see those. I looked. I saw
yeah,
there were clips. I did not look at
I,
those clips. The
I,
gold card. I
yeah,
see.
I played it off as a joke. Like yeah, like haha, I gold carded a tower. But in reality, I mean, I was just nervous in that scenario because I don't want these teammates to be like, oh, this guy's gold too. He's not gonna cut it. He's not gonna be the mid laner we need
I
and
I definitely understand that. Like, my right now, a big part of my reasoning for being so open and willing to jump ship from jungle is I'm still new to jungle. I know I have a lot of weaknesses. One of my favorite champions I have not shown any good form on, which is Gragas, and I'm willing to move to a role that I'm admitting I'm not good at because there's less pressure on me to perform at that point, right? Like, at that point, I
yeah,
have already set up the expectation I'm not good at that role. And even though, like, depth of pool wise, I think I have Cam in that department. Like, I have a larger of a pool than Cam.
yeah,
It's a possibility that he's better. I have not gotten to see enough of his play to know how I feel about how much better he might be than me in the jungle, if he is at all, or if it's just a very close skill discrepancy. But that plays a lot into my nerves of, do I want to try there and then, like, per se fail at my what's perceived best role, or just take a role that I'm already not good at and say it's for the betterment of the team, just so that I don't have to face that potential embarrassment of uh, being worse than somebody else on the team and potentially lose my spot for it.
and at the end of the day, it's all just in our heads, right? Like it's all just because like we know we have a proven track record of being not the best. We're not masters levels players, but we're good enough to work with a team because we have that experience before and just perform. And I think once the anxiety and our own um like worries go away, then I think we'll do just fine.
Definitely, I think it's definitely one of those things that will hopefully fade with time. The biggest worry, it's not even my biggest concern. I'm definitely nervous, but it has been the least anxious driving thing in my mind. The biggest anxiety I have had
What has?
has been the fact that I know I have issues with anger. I've always dealt with anger issues, and then in league,
Gotcha.
especially, I can get really angry when I know my team can perform better and we're just not performing well at all. Like we're so far under what we should be doing. Um,
Yeah.
or when people are just refusing to listen or refusing to work together, like that drives me to very big anger issues. It's been a seldom problem that I've had in the past with other amateur teams that I'd worked with, where I would just get furious with a player who was so self-centered that they wouldn't play for the team, and then we'd lose a game because of it, even if it's just a scrim. There'd be people that are just like, all right, the call is this, and that person's not listening to the call, and then because they're not there, we lose the fight. And then the response is, well, I wasn't coming, you shouldn't have gone. And the response was, it's not that you weren't coming, it's that you chose to actively ignore a call. There's a difference there. In solo queue, that's one thing, and in a team play, it's another. And and my big fear is that something like that will happen, and I will not be able to contain my anger for it. And that is
And
something I have a worry for.
that's a good point, and I think that's something we don't see a lot of when we're like thinking about the behind the scenes of professional play. Because I think what you're saying you go through. I think happens a lot, especially at like you're in the championships, right? And like your SKT versus whoever, right? Back like 5 years ago, I'm sure that there was a lot of arguing and just general like upsetness at individual play, because when the stakes are high, no matter how high they are, I think it's just natural to have those kinds of reactions, and it's up for you to decide how high the stakes are. And I think in our situation, with this and wanting to show that we're you know we belong in this team, that we're good enough to be on this team, then I think it's gonna happen, but I don't think you should be ashamed of it happening, because I think it's natural.
Uh, yeah, it's something that nobody really talks about, which then makes you feel so more isolated, right? Like you feel
Exactly.
you definitely don't understand. Like you get to the feeling that nobody understands that why you're upset and stuff like that, and it makes it worse when you end up with teammates that don't go through those same anxiety issues that you have in those situations. It's not that I'm angry at you, the person, for just because I hate you, but I hate
Yeah.
choices you decide to make that cost me where I feel like we can win. I might be making my mistakes, and it's not that I'm trying to blame others for our losses in those situations, but I can see those big mistakes on a call on a level where it's like we're supposed to be working as a team, and then you're just deciding that my call's not right, but you're not actively making another call or actively, voicing the reason why. And some people lack that ability to communicate, and that's always frustrating me because I have the exact opposite of that. I not that I can't communicate, it's often that I over communicate and can't shut up. So uh, that's also a negative that a lot of people don't look at, is like, oh yeah, this guy has great communication skills, but often I can get myself into trouble because I want to continue. I want people, like, I expect people to be able to explain themselves because I can, and not everybody can. Not everybody can explain their train of thought like that, and then I get angry and stuff like that will happen. And that's my
And I
biggest worry.
Yeah, I think in situations like that, it's gonna be, it's gonna be up to you, up to us to trust Beg and his, insights on it, because you can say like, no, let's say, you're calling to gank mid lane, but mid lane has a wave pushing up, and you think it's the right call, but then Beg later says, no, that wasn't the right call. I think it's, unfair to get upset at that point at the play. You just kind of have to accept it, because he's the coach. We have to go off of whatever he says is the right call.
Yeah, and I think having that eye in the sky, that guy that's always going to be watching the games, that's going to be kind of there to give pointers and stuff, is going to help with that, because it's a impartial jury to kind of judge uh, who's what's the right situation here, not necessarily who's right,
Yeah.
who's wrong, but what would have been the better call here. Maybe you're looking at it and you're like, oh yeah, this is, from my point of view, this is a perfect situation to gank. They're pushed into a situation that the enemy can't really back off from, but your laner is already behind, and all they want to do is catch this giant wave that's about to crash. If they commit to the fight, they might not get that wave, and if they don't get the kill, we just lose out on it. It's a net loss. And sometimes, as a jungler, you'll miss that sometimes. And sometimes as a mid laner, you miss that opportunity where, oh, but maybe the mid laner didn't think this person doesn't have a flash. This person doesn't actually have an escape move. They're a sitting duck if I follow up. And you can't always communicate that much right there and then during the play. So having somebody who goes through it with you afterwards, review it, will definitely save their from being long-term hurt feelings,
Yeah.
which is definitely, I think, going to be integral for growth of each player on the team. Is you have that person to kind of just like, all right, this is what happened. Here's what I see from the hindsight perspective here and why it went wrong. This is the knowledge that we had as a team. This is what should have been happening then.
And and I think you're right, having that outside, because we have VOD reviews every week, it looks like. So I mean, we're gonna be getting that every week. We're gonna be told, we're gonna have the constructive criticism. We're gonna be told you shouldn't have done that. We're gonna be told, great job doing that. It's gonna go both ways. We're gonna get legitimate coaching on this, which is exciting.
Yeah, definitely, and it's the first time I will be on any type of amateur styled team that has a coach. All of my previous ones have been like, yeah, 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 we got a
It's
coach, and
just
I jump in, and it's like, yeah, we do self coaching by watching these videos and then talking over VOD reviews with each other, and
yeah,
like you get so many hurt feelings to the point because somebody will just find. It inevitably happens. There's always one person on the team that latches onto the idea that there's one other person that's just making their life hell. Sometimes it's the jungler, sometimes it's the mid laner, sometimes it's the support calling out the ADC. Like, there's situations that can cause that, and that's where the internal conflict happens, and that's where the strife causes the breakup of a team there. But I think having this person like we talked about previously, has that kind of track record to settle these arguments, that has the ability to control, or not control, but mitigate stuff like this, will help kind of
yeah.
at least keep the team from tearing itself out internally.
and and I coached very briefly for UTSA's team before I left for the semester. And after I played for them, and our coaching was a little weird. It was kind of like what you described. It was like we looked at VODs of our previous scrims, and then we would talk over them, but like nothing was really. And this was like the early days of esports, when we didn't have, collegiate level, championships, and there wasn't a collegiate level, you know, uh, like esports. It was just, scrims in the Star League, or scrims in against whatever other university team. So it wasn't never this big. But I'm hoping that the coaching goes a little bit more in depth, and we get a little bit more one on one. But it's gonna be kind of hard. I would imagine, for Beg to be able to do that with us. So I mean, we'd have to see how it goes during the VOD reviews. But I'd like to get some substance out of them, so we can self improve. Um, Not only for our team, but also for like our solo play.
Yeah, I guess that can kind of transition towards the next topic that I kind of wanted to get in on, which was solo self discovery. Something that we really found in this last week or so, that we either were happy about us performance wise, or maybe something that we saw that was just really really cool league wise, but kind of a you know or maybe a build path that we found.
Okay.
So, um, like for instance, for me, I've rekindled my love for Bloodrazor Bork Trundle. Um,
Yeah.
this stupid build path should not work in this elo. Like, there's nothing about it that should allow it to work in this elo. It is easily punishable. You are so squishy while you're building these two items. but they're so damn cheap compared to tank items. My god, how much stat efficiency these damn things give me.
Yeah. And Blade
It,
of the Ruined Kings just busted on melee, especially when you're getting the AD steal on
yeah.
Trundle's Q.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a skirmishy meta right now, right?
Yeah.
So take somebody who's already good into the skirmish meta because he steals stats, and then
Yeah.
add ungodly amount of attack speed, stat stealing, or stat bumping, and life steal. And it doesn't matter if somebody could potentially one shot you. If you just are able to get on top of them, which guess what? Trundle's really good at doing that. I get on top of you, I start autoing you, plus Conqueror. Unless you have Grievous or Ignite, I'm just killing you. You can't out trade that. If you like, the only people I have ever had issues with this build on is like a Jax, and it's 50-50 with Nocturnes, because if I position if I position the fight just slightly wrong and they get a really good spell shield, they can win it. But like, it's other than those two that have some innate things that counter Trundle.
And
I
yeah.
I don't have issues running somebody down and killing them with this build, and it's
And
so it shouldn't work. There's so many people who are like, you should die immediately, and it's like, you can't kill me though, because how do you survive it? Like if you get behind early with it, right? Because that's the whole point of it, is like go and I fight you early, and then I kill you. Um, and you get behind against it, you can't build tanky to mitigate it because I'm Trundle, so I ulti you and you have no tank stats now, and then I just kill you anyways. So it's
and I'm looking at your match history, and like the one game where you decided to go back to tank, you did worse on. So I think
I did,
there's
yeah.
definitely something there.
It
Like,
it
how do you feel about the press the attack into the melee matchups
not a
for
fan.
early scuttle control?
Not a fan of it. To
You
be
still prefer
honest,
the conquer?
I honestly do. And so the reason why I prefer it is press the attack is such a good rune in multi-man skirmishes. Trundle, all in all, is also a champion that likes prolonged fights. uh PTA is better if you could just do like hit some type of giant chunk of damage. So like auto Q auto is his general,
Yeah,
trade window, which means
small combo.
I don't have anything else to add that burst damage right after the PTA. So by the time my Q comes back up, I have like a second left of PTA proc on him. And like if they're not already dead, then like I'm gonna lose this extended trade. And most people who take these kind of extended long traded fights in the jungle are also going Conqueror, which means they get earlier healing. Um and the Conqueror stats is just so much better on him because it also just gives me more stats. I'm stealing your stats, and as I'm hitting you, I'm gaining more stats as I'm hitting you. Like, so
Speaking of your junglers, uh, oh, did you want to talk more about? I was gonna
no.
transition into talking about the Rumble. I saw it in your match history, and I was
Let's
wondering, because I'm like, yeah, you've been really consistent on playing like 3 champions over and over again. That's really great. Like you're solidifying your champion pool, and then there's just the random Rumble game, and I'm like,
So that came from a conversation. We were talking about the Rumble buffs and looking at it, and I was like, damn, that is a
hmm.
disgustingly good Rumble Q buff. I wonder if that brings Rumble in the jungle back. And Beg's like, maybe it does. And so I decided to pick Rumble that game, and I haven't played Rumble in a while. Though my clearing was going quite well in the early game, his ability to fight a fed Hecarim is not good. I will say that here and
Yes,
now.
I
uh,
see the Hecarim.
being at a runic start versus a cinder start, and the Hecarim is already 7-1, and you're 1-0. Yeah, it turns real bad when he has Ignite and Conqueror and just fucking obliterates you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it turned real bad real fast. I might have also chose the wrong rune setup for that. I don't know the current rune setup that should have been good on Rumble right now. Maybe Dark Harvest would have been better. Maybe, oddly enough, Conqueror could have been better potentially. Uh, but yeah, it did not go well. The Trundle has been going kind of good. The Olaf has been about 50-50. The set has been good performances by me,
I
not
see that.
overall been wins though, unfortunately. The set ones have not been significant wins most of the time, unfortunately.
And I think that's because set really sets up kills for your laners. Um, and I think that that goes back to what we were talking about earlier with like the carry role and being able to take the carry position and knowing what to do with the lead if you get a lead. Um, but I see like your 7, 9, and 20 set game, and it looks like you set up a lot of kills for people based on the assists, but it just never panned out.
Yeah, it turned into one of those situations that, um, in that game specifically, I was able to set up a ton of kills for it, and it just netted us. We ended up netting a loss just because the team couldn't use that advantage. They didn't know how to use that advantage. So many people are so used to now just auto losing that even when they get a lead, they just don't know what to do with it, right? Like
Yeah.
they have no understanding what to do with it, and many of them come into the games tilted as is. So even if they do get
Oh
ahead,
yeah.
they're just like, "What do I do with the? I'm ahead now. What do I do with this?" And it's like you carry with it, and they're like, "What?" And then it just nothing happens. Nothing comes from it, which is super super sad. And also some of them just don't know how to position because like, oh, I'm ahead, but they don't respect the fact that other people can just kill you still. Um,
Yeah.
and so it ends up going can go south pretty fast. Um,
Have you thought about like picking up Ivern again? Because I know you said you think yourself more of like the support jungle role, and I think Ivern is the poster child for support jungle.
yeah, so Ivern and Tarek have been the two that I've debated taking into my champ pool as becoming more into my main champ pool again. Because they both kind of fill that similar role, though Tarek has more ability to fight people early on. Uh, I like the supportive nature of the both of them. The problem I have in terms of Ivern is the fact that because there's a lot of early game fighting. To play him, you have to kind of avoid the enemy jungler a lot in the early game,
Yeah.
and to secure camps if they are very invade heavy, you have to have your smite ready, which means you have to have already set up your camps, have your smite ready, and then you can't use your smite to go punish them as much, which is what Ivern wants to do. So in the current meta game of things, it might work better in a competitive play format, but in solo queue, at least in this current elo that I'm in solo queue, it's going to be hard to transition that for any real gain from it. Um, as for the Tarek, I think there is some positivity to it because early on I can fight with Tarek, and then into the mid game you just kind of mid to late game you transition into playing the support role, but in the jungle. So it definitely feels like what Ivern wants to do, but having the liberty in the early game to still fight people, which I think would be a bit more beneficial. Tarek's only real weakness is that he is very slow. His clear is pretty fast, but his movement speed is slower than dirt. So having to adjust to that would be the biggest thing there. But I have debated it. I've also tried right now, as you can see, Olaf, Set, and Trundle are the three I've been kind of playing the most. And I'm trying to get
I like the Olaf pick.
I'm trying to get more comfortable on Olaf.
Can you post your I don't know if you're allowed to, but can you post your team doc so I can see like what champions you put for your
Yeah,
comfortable, not
yeah, yeah, yeah.
comfortable?
No, 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 no. I can send you that. I've never heard anything about not being able to do that. So, uh,
Because we're not in the like we don't have the same chats.
yeah. So let me see here. So here, I'll share it on the Discord for you. It should be able to
Okay.
stream it, I think. No, that's not what I want to stream. I don't want to stream League. I want to show my screen. This one.
Okay.
So on here, I have listed that I go Skarner, Trundle, Set, Ivern, and Jarvan are my top five,
Okay.
and I legitimately think that those ones are probably the ones that I have the most comfort on going through. Nunu and Jarvan are somewhat interchangeable there. Maybe Nunu, Ivern, um, because I've gotten very comfortable on Nunu again. Um, but then into the next tier, the comfortable picks end up being Nunu, Amumu. I still consider myself comfortable on Gragas. I know his combos. The only thing is that the current damage playstyle of him feels really wonky to me. It's not what I'm used to
Yeah.
playing on him, so it feels really off. But I've considered it still nonetheless. Zach Mordekaiser is in my jungle tier list,
Mhm.
as I really enjoy him as a very oddball jungle pick, and he just, oh god, he still brings the power of Mordekaiser, but dominating multiple lanes instead of just one is great. Olaf, I've gotten comfortable on him. I'm not to the point that I consider him like a great champion, but I'm getting more comfortable on him. Tarek and Silas, because I can pick both of those up and just do well enough that I'm not the reason we're losing, but not always the reason we're winning, on both of those. But within a couple of games, I can get back to form on both of those. Um, I put in my not comfort category. I put Fiddlesticks, Sejuani, Lilia, Hecarim, Warwick, Jax, and Vi, as these are champions that I like to play, but I'm not consistent playing them consistently enough to consider them ones that I'm good at. Um, like I'm not a bad fiddlesticks, but I will often make very bad fiddlestick plays because I'm on fiddlesticks. Likewise with Sejuani, I do those things. I like Lilia and Hecarim, but I have not gotten accustomed to their playstyle enough to be able to play them consistently. But they are champions I'm trying to get into my pool. I just don't win with Warwick. I don't know what it is about this champion. I know everything about his mechanics. I know how to do the different combos and stuff on him. The one thing I didn't understand was that the W just gave you blood scent on everybody. I thought it just made you run faster towards your
Yeah.
blood sense. That was the only
Yeah.
thing that I misunderstood on that one. But like other than that, he's a very straightforward champion, and I still can't fucking succeed on this champion. Like no matter what I do, I can't seem to just like do enough on him. Jax, I'm getting comfortable on, but I'm not quite to the point that I want to consider him a comfort pick.
Have
Uh,
you have you thought about champions like Elise, where you get really good like early game dives?
so I've debated the Elise picking. I want to pick up Elise again, but it had been so long since I played her. I'm gonna have to put so much time and effort into her. Like I do want to learn her again, because it also opens up for the availability of possibly an AD mid laner. Though our mid lane's current pool does not seem to be that many AD. They play a lot of AP mages and a bit of the assassins. Uh,
Who who is that? Is that support
that is, yeah, that is
or
that is the one in mid is currently also potentially our support player.
okay,
Uh,
okay.
so
I'd also like to point out that Kirken's only two champions are Sona and Morgana.
yeah, he's also brand new to this game. The fact that he
Yeah.
has two champions is nice to see. Um, I'm very happy that he's moving away from Sona to Morgana. I believe that is a good choice. I personally
Yes.
think Sona is probably one of the weakest supports still, only just due to the fact that her learning curve is so high. Not necessarily because
Yeah.
the kit is that bad, but just to be effective on a kit that has no CC in a lane that is dominated by CC/burst people is really hard to do. So, but yeah, I mean, we have. I think between my champion pool and the top lane's champion pool, there's a lot of synergy there. Um, and even into what the mid lane wants to play, there's a lot of synergy because four of my top five picks are AD champions, and the mid laner wants to play a lot of AP. The top laner wants to play a lot of tankier and or bruisery champions, which synergize with my bruisery champions to give us a front line. So just determining what our ADC pool ends up being and our support pool, we have some potential there. But
I do see a lot of potential between like your synergy with the top mid synergy. Like you've got the set flex pick for top and jungle. Um,
which might
you
change this
know,
patch. I haven't gotten to try him out on this patch. I do want to play some games after the podcast, but I don't know how set feels on this patch with the nerfs that just came in. So,
um,
but I play him damage set most of the time anyway, so hopefully it won't feel that bad. But
yeah. So I guess, talking about champions, we can talk about um wait, actually, give me 5 minutes. My food got here like 45 minutes ago. I'm gonna go grab it real quick and be right back. But I want to talk about Samira.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Okay, give me 1 second. Oh, shit.
It's always nice having a guest walk away on the podcast. It's not a Dangerous Game podcast if my guest, at least in one of the episodes, does not walk away. I think Sark walked away. Actually, I think it was the first episode Sark joined. He also did this where his food got ready and he had to leave. Now, Sark took 15 minutes. I imagine Dan is running to grab food and coming back and eating it here while we talk, which is still funny nonetheless, but also makes for these awkward moments where I have to talk to you, the listener, because I have nothing to fill this time with. So, as you can obviously tell, I am just trying to make sure there's not a lot of dead air here. But I hope you guys are enjoying this. I guess I'll put a PSA out during this time while we're waiting. And I hope you guys are enjoying these podcasts and hope you guys are coming back. I'd love to do, I live stream these podcasts every week. So if you guys are interested, we'll be doing them on Thursdays here going forward, or maybe on. I'll be aiming for Thursdays, but that might change. I'll let you guys know in my Discord if that changes. But I'd love to have people come in and ask questions of us. And it sounds like Dan got back, and I am now just about to wrap up this PSA. So
Yes, I am back.
I was just informing anybody that ends up listening to this that you were not the first of my guests to walk away to get food, and Sark took 15 minutes the time he did it. So
Yes, I'm sorry.
yours is much
I've been
faster.
I've been struggling to find like an opportunity to go and get it because my dad brought it like 30 minutes ago, and I felt bad it just sitting out there. So.
Oh, well. So Samira. So this is something we talked about earlier this week. I also just got a message from Nick that he wanted to, but he'd been busy and didn't get to go to sleep until 3. So just woke up.
Was he gonna join us or?
I mean, we can have him jump in here late and come in for the Samira conversation.
I mean, if you don't mind, it's your podcast. You decide the rules.
Just have a late middle of the.
You are the dungeon master.
I am the captain now. Look at me.
Look at you. You are the captain now.
If I was not the captain before, I am definitely the captain now. All right, Nick is coming.
So until Nick gets here, okay. So Pockets, when does his league end? Did he ever tell you?
I don't know. I think they're on their last couple of weeks. So.
Okay.
Welcome, Nick.
Hello.
Hey guys.
We are 42 minutes into the podcast, so you're only a slightly bit late when we're aiming for an hour.
We weren't talking about anything important.
Nothing important. It's fine.
It was just like it was just NMU stuff.
Yeah. But now that you're here, we are just about to start talking about Samira. Seeing as Dan wanted to talk about Samira, let's get Dan's. What did you want to talk about Samira, Dan? What?
Okay. So like first initial thoughts looking into her, like she's labeled as a marksman. But I'm gonna really try and play her mid lane because it looks like she has a lot of the same kind of play style as Katarina, which I'm super excited about because I've been looking for like a champion with the most similar play style, and it seems like she's the one. I don't know how she fits into like a team setting, like if we're looking at like 5 comps, because right now my top 5 champions for the team are all like centered around like good like synergies with 5s. Other than Katarina, it's like Azir, Xerath, Karma, Kassadin. Like they're all like really good picks for 5s, but I'm not sure how Samira fits into that, if she's just a solo queue champion or if she's gonna, fit into something a little bit more competitive. But she looks really great. I think, like Blade of the Ruined King is gonna be pretty good on her. Crit's gonna be really good on her, and it might be like a Graves kind of thing where they might see some play in the bot side, but then they might shift to a different lane like mid, for example.
So I agree in that respect that she's going to find positions other than the intended ADC spot. I want to make a wager that she's going to be a jungler. I believe everything full-heartedly that this is going to be one of the most broken jungle champions to date.
How so? I want to get your thoughts on it.
So everything about her screams that she does a ridiculous amount of damage, and she does it to a decent number of enemies in the process. She's very good at hitting multiple people repeatedly. She might kill one target at a time, but as she gets closer to her targets, she's going to be very good at that. So my thought here is you're going to be taking Talisman and do the normal kiting like most champions do in the jungle that are ranged. Exception is that you're taking the Talisman due to the fact that you can also get right up close and personal and do a ridiculous amount of percentage damage at close range, which means that she can just execute these camps after she's kited them for, like, she goes through one kite cycle, does a big chunk, kite again, does a big chunk, continues off, and she should be really, really healthy. And I just personally believe that she is just going to be overpowered in how fast she'll be able to clear. She's going to be able to kill the I think she's going to be able to kill red, blue, and grump really, really fast. She's going to get into killing wolves pretty fast too. And she's going to have such a healthy clear that she's going to be just winning one-on-one duels in the river. I think that she's...
Yeah. You think she's going to have like the standard 3-minute like clear time for junglers?
So the standard clear time for most jungles right now, excluding the Lilia, Graves, and Karthus clear time, which are all three very high, full 6 camp clears within 3:15. Everybody else is doing about a 3 to 4 camp clear before they go to the Krugs or go to the Scuttle Crabs.
Yeah,
and that's about the 3:15 mark too. I think she'll be able to pull off that 3 camp clear, go into the enemy jungle, duel them at their buff, and then take both crabs. I think she's going to be that type of person that's looking to get...
be that strong.
She's going to get so fast off that level 3 that she's going to invade and kill people. Like, I think that's just how she's going to be. Like, she has so much mobility as well with it, right? Like, she has, oh, let me go duel this person. I'm going to jump in on you and finish you off because now I'm on top of you. And then somebody else is going to come by and I'm just going to dash away again because fuck it. Like, I have a reset now, so I'm gone. Like, I honestly think she's going to be too good at invading. Just because of that reset. She's going to get that kill and get out. Like, that's going to be so heavily favored in her ability to stomp it early. And I think she's just going to snowball too hard off of stuff like that. She's going to become this new assassin jungler.
Unless Riot actually wants her to be a jungler, they'll probably end up nerfing her into the damage against monsters. Like, just take away chunks of her damage to monsters.
Is it super high right now or something?
She just does her full damage.
She does her full damage, which is really high right now, because that's all her kit is about is damage. And I've been watching the Pantsar Dragon, who always tests new champions as junglers. And I've watched a couple other people who have also decided, who don't generally play jungle, tested her as jungle, and were like, she's going to be a good jungler.
Yeah, her Q on a 6-second like level 1 cooldown seems pretty good if she's doing full damage to camps.
Yeah, right? She's going to clear the jungle so fast and so healthily that it's going to be disgusting. It's going to be gross. And I am in a big fear that she will become, at least for the first patch that she's out, she's going to dominate the jungle, and that might be the only role that we see her in. Even though she could be good in other roles, that might be the only role we see her in. And it's been a while since we got a marksman jungler, right? Like, the last one that was a marksman jungle was technically Graves, right? Like, we got Kindred, and was that before or after the Graves rework? Which one was it? I don't remember if it was right before or right after.
I know Graves got...
So
actually, I'm gonna look that up while y'all...
So it was either Graves or Kindred. Those are the only two we have to begin with anyways. But, like, the rework happens for Graves. He wasn't intended to be a jungler, became a jungler, and Riot's like, we're going to let it slide. And then, I think you're right. I think Kindred came after. And then Kindred came out and started off OP, and then got nerfed in the ground, and has become Riot's failure of a marksman jungler in many ways. She's somewhat imbalanceable. And I think that Samira is supposed to be an ADC, like Graves, but she's going to find a home like Graves or Quinn somewhere else.
Yeah.
And to me, I think it's going to be
jungle. Graves rework and Kindred came out at the same time.
Same time. So there you go. The last time we got a marksman jungle was The time that we got 2 marksman jungles, and that was it.
Yeah, around the same. Kindred came out a little bit before the Graves rework.
With Samira's 500 range, I think she's gonna end up in the same spot Lucian, Quinn, and Vayne have ended up, where they're okay in the ADC role, but they play better in
They
like top and mid.
other roles. I completely agree.
Like,
I think she's like super snowbally in that sense too. I think she's definitely in a carry position, and the state of ADC right now is not really carry position. So I think like item rework. I think we're gonna see her in other lanes besides ADC the most.
So
could all be wrong, and she ends up just like Zaya and
she
Yeah,
could
I
be
mean,
she could be the next
it could be-
Kaisa. She could be the
yeah.
next Kaisa, and that could be very
Yeah.
problematic. But
What does she have a secondary classification? Like Kaisa was marksman / like assassin, right?
I imagine if she does, it's going to be assassin, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think you would
That's
classify
what I
her as
see.
anything else. So on top of that, we previously talked about how her kit is essentially just the good things of other champions amalgam together to make a even better champion.
Yeah, like Yon.
yeah, she's just classified as a marksman right now.
And
Okay.
so she takes a dash that is almost like a Katarina blink that resets off of kills, which is like a Tristana E. So you're taking the almost instantaneous jump that is a Katarina E. So I see the immediate nerf for that one, right? Like, that's an easy one to tell a nerf on, which is just make it have a cast time. Like, cool. It has a small wind up. Maybe it's still a blink like that, but it still has like a second, maybe like a quarter of a second that you're standing there. So there's a little bit of time.
Yeah, there's time to react to it, but realistically, there's not a lot of time to do anything about it. Like, sure, theoretically you can react to, just by looking at the videos, you can react to that kind of dash, but it's like a collie, right? Like,
Yeah, how do you
you're not
respond to
gonna,
it? Yeah.
you're not really gonna, like, unless you have like precision aim, you're not gonna respond to it.
And I don't think that's healthy on an ADC. The only time that was the case is because they put it on the ultimate ability of an ADC that wants to try to dive in, but there's a massive risk reward to that for that one, and it's they're all in. Once they're in, Kai'Sa's all in. Like, yeah, sure, she can turn invisible if she's maxed out that E rank up, but even then, that doesn't get her all the way back out. Like, she's still in the middle of a fight for it. The problem I see with this champion is she goes all in, kills somebody, and has back out, immediately back out. Like, unlike Tristana, there is no time delay. So I think that's the biggest nerf that I can see coming immediately there. Because if you gut her damage immediately, then this champion has no room to be, like, she doesn't add CC.
The other thing you could nerf immediately is her blade whirl. It lasts for 1 second.
Full second,
right now.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's a full second. Like, if you shorten the duration on that, make it more reactionary, like you have to do it at the right time.
Yeah, what's the what did we say at work the other day? You like
Fiora
attributed it
parry
to
or
something?
like
Yes,
or
yes.
Hyper spell shield.
Yeah. Yeah, like Fiora parry is like a good example because you kind of have to have that like skill level. Skill level is not the right word, but you have to have the reaction time to block something. It makes it a little bit higher of a skill ceiling on the ability. It also has a longer cooldown than parry, if I remember Fiora cooldowns correctly.
This one starts at 30, or I can look up Fiora, but yeah, like, I think the real issue is Samira's kit just feels overloaded. Like,
Does a lot of stuff
without actually using it. I can't say for sure. Yes, it's overloaded, but
Yeah, it has the appearance that it's going to be way too strong.
on paper.
But
Yes.
on paper, but we have also looked at other champions that look on paper like they're going to be too strong. And like, there's the argument: is Yone too strong? Is he not? I think with the nerf, he's definitely in a much healthier spot. I feel like there was too much strength in that type of champion, and on paper, he had way too much. He has way too much in his kit. I see it being a problem in the future. Is it a problem right now? No, potentially not. I mean, a lot of people have stopped playing him as much due to the fact that, you know, he's kind of lost that flair. he is a much clunkier version of Yasuo, which I think is a good way of making him not feel like he's overpowered because he feels kind of clunky. But on paper, everything in his kit is overloaded. You're right, like he has way too much going for him. I pull everybody, and if I hit multiple people with my ulti, they all get knocked up and pulled immediately to one spot. That sets up for so many wombos. It sets up for Yasuo ultis. It sets up for any type of AoE ulti to follow that up immediately and do phenomenal. His Q is a Yasuo Q, but better in many ways because, like, there in no way is it worse. Like, right, except for that you can't poke with it. Except for, I mean, it just stylistically works with his kit better too.
Yes. I was gonna say that his Q is. I wouldn't say it's a worse Yasuo Q. I think it just like thematically with his kit, it fits better with his kit. Like Yasuo wants to go for those like long range ults, and or just dash in your face with the EQ tornadoes, and then Yon wants to, always be in your face all the time. So I think, the saying that the Q is worse is
Stylistically, it's set up to be differently.
And
yeah.
I don't think in any way it's worse though. I think it is a better version of Yasuo's Q all around.
Or better yet, sorry.
I don't think cool. Yasuo has a bit of poke ability with his, but like Yone has that same poke that forces him to go forward and means that he can take an extended trade with somebody and do something that Yasuo likes to do to begin with. It takes away the one of the difficult parts of learning Yasuo's kit, which is the Keyblade, which is the EQing onto somebody and knocking them up. And it's just there on your third Q every time on Yone, which is really good. And you can use it as an escape, which is really good. He has, while he feels clunky, he has so much in that kit. And then he just gains an AoE shield. Like, oh, I hit 2 champions and a ton of minions, and I have a shield that's basically Yasuo passive, but on an ability that also hurts people. And then I have it
on an ability that has about the same cooldown as Yasuo shield as well.
Yeah, so like he has the things that Yasuo has, just in different places and with slightly better aspects to them. His ulti is wider, it is a knock-up, so it's a very good knock-up too. And to be honest, yeah, it's sometimes very easy to dodge it because it's very telegraphed. But also sometimes it's damn near impossible to dodge it because it's just like, the only way I can dodge this is jumping into his team. Welp. And he snowballs faster than Yasuo. Yasuo takes like 3 kills to snowball. Yone gets 1 kill and he's off to the races. I mean, there is arguments that he is not necessarily overpowered because of the fact that, yes, his win rate is still gate-kept by the fact that there is a lot of skill expression to the champion. Yeah. But I feel like his floor is much, much lower than Yasuo's. Like
his floor to entry is easier to access than Yasuo's. His ceiling is slightly lower, arguably.
But still pretty high, nonetheless.
Yeah.
Which I guess can add that argument that he's not overpowered because it takes a while to master him. But I feel like it doesn't take as long. And that's where I feel like there's too much inherent strength to him. But he also just doesn't fit the meta enough either. So there's some argument there. I just feel if there's a distinct meta shift in the mid lane, he will become an ipso facto best mid laner.
Back to the original conversation.
But back to Samira. Is she overpowered? We don't know. But
yeah.
short, long answer.
It feels like her kit's definitely overloaded, but overpowered is yet to be determined. Her Blade Whirl is actually on a 6-second longer cooldown at all ranks to Fiora's parry.
Okay.
But yeah, it lasts 1 second, whereas Fiora's parry lasts 3/4 of a second. So, like,
I mean, we'd have to see how it does. I think
like it's definitely like a wait and see type thing, but like that's where I feel like a nerf could come in if a nerf were to come in, aside from her like base damages or her ratios.
So once she has gained full combo, does she have to keep comboing to keep the combo up, or once she's reached it, does she just keep it?
She has to keep it up. It falls based on the videos I've seen. It falls off at around the speed of Jack's passive, but just it. If I understand, it just drops off instead of losing stacks.
Interesting.
When I tried to play her on the PB, I wasn't able to because they disabled her, which was funny.
Yeah, she disabled her in One for All if I saw correctly.
Yeah.
The other thing, her ult resets her combo, but she can immediately begin stacking it.
She definitely feels like there's going to be a lot that could be very strong about her. I think the combo might gatekeep her enough because it doesn't sound hard on paper to just go auto Q, auto another ability, auto another ability. But
Yeah,
the situations that allow you to do something like that are not always easy to set up. So I think that passive, while very strong because of everything that's loaded into that passive, all of it, it's the
yeah.
combo aspect of it is going to be hard to pull off
It's
successfully.
definitely one of those you got to learn how to play this champion. You can't just. It's not a you can't. I guess you can't face roll the keyboard to do the combo. You have to actually do the combo.
Yeah, which does give it kind of a fighting game feel to her a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel about her taunt being an interactive thing?
Wait, what? I missed that.
So her taunt, her actual taunt is if she stays in the emote for like 3 seconds, she tosses a coin in the direction she is facing. If she has at least 1 gold, it throws an actual gold out of her inventory, and the first champion it hits uh takes 1 true damage, but also receives 1 gold from her.
I like that. There was a similar thing that they did, I think, back in the day. I can't remember the 2 champions that they did it with, but if you would kill the other champion, you'd get 1 extra gold.
Yes, pirates and
Was it
ninjas.
pirates? Yeah, pirates and ninjas. That's right. You'd get 1 extra gold.
It was
It's
when
something that I really like a lot. Just like,
it was so dumb. When
okay,
pirates fought each other, you gained 1 extra gold. Whenever you had more than one ninja on your team, each ninja lost an HP for every other ninja on the team. That part never made sense to me. That made absolutely no sense whatsoever. Pirates were the same way. If you had more than one pirate on the team, you lost 1 HP per extra for every pirate on the team. Which there was only 2 pirates back in the day, so that didn't matter. But like,
but
you could have 4 ninjas on a
yeah,
team and lose 4 HP collectively each. Like, it was so dumb.
I like how they like took that and just like, all right, how can we take it to the next level? And like an interactable.
I think they should
Um,
give that to TF as well. I honestly believe Twisted Fate should have it as well.
You said it does true damage.
1 true damage.
One true damage.
Imagine executing somebody with a taunt, dude.
What one of her Eternals is gonna be? How many times have you killed somebody with taunt?
Like it gives a it gives a coin. It also gives a stack of her passive because it's considered a unique hit.
So
Wait,
you
really?
can
Wait,
actively try to
is it
taunt and
instant?
get a combo.
Is the taunt instant?
No.
Oh fuck! Damn it!
Dude, could you imagine how cancer that would be? You're in the middle of a fight and somebody fucking just taunts to start their combo.
Yeah, man. Like it realistically, it's too slow of an animation to let you do it in combat, and
You gotta push cheese it.
it's just gonna be a BM thing because it's also when she does her line of here buy yourself something nice.
Can it hit
Funny.
camps? My thought is,
No,
can
it
it
can
hit
only hit
camps?
champions,
Damn
and it
it.
actually takes a gold from your inventory.
Dude, like, I would spend 1 gold to start my combo on a camp for free, dude. Like, that's good.
So your combo can only stack up on champions as it is. You can't
Ah,
stack it on minions at all.
interesting.
That's that was something that I actually found very interesting because it means unlike other champions like Jax, Aurelia, the likes that have stacking passive, you can't just pre-stack it on minions. She actually has to go in and do her combo on a champion.
Hmm.
Her passive dash will not take her through terrain.
It won't take her through terrain.
No, her passive one won't. Her her E will, but
Oh, okay.
the passive where she dashes up
Like dashes
to the
closer.
minions.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah, like I don't know. She seems a little strong, but like I think the whole thing we've all been saying is that she seems a little overloaded, but isn't gonna be like it doesn't seem broken yet.
I see her being in the role they don't intend her to be in, which is just because of the agency the champion has. Which is the whole point of the champion too, is to give agency back to ADCs. But ultimately, it's going to be fought over in the other roles, and she's not necessarily going to take over the game. But she's definitely not going to do what Riot wants her to do, which is trying to give power back to ADCs. She's definitely going to take more away from them because it's one more champion that should be in their pool that they're not going to be able to play. And I think that's going to do more damage than good.
I think she sits in the same spot that Kaisa and Zaya sit. Like if they end up adjusting her correctly, she'll end up in the same area as them, where she's an outplay potential character, but is gonna be stuck in the role of ADC regardless of where other people want to take her. Like, because Kalista, Lucian, Vayne, Quinn have all ended up in this area where they can play other roles. Tristana as well. So it's not like Riot can actually lock it to being just an ADC champion. Provably they can't, but it's something they can do. Like they can limit it to just being um how do I put it? Just being stuck in the ADC role based on their stats, based on how squishy they make her or what have you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Well, do we have any final closing thoughts before we wrap up the podcast?
I've got a closing thought. I like how the title of your podcast is Dangerous Game Podcast, but Dangerous Game isn't even a mastery anymore.
Thank you for noticing. I initially started this right after Dangerous Game had the original Dangerous Game podcast got started right after the rune was removed. And then, or the mastery, I guess, got removed. And then I rebooted it, and I didn't have another name for the podcast, so I just called it by the old name, and it has absolutely no similarity to the old podcast whatsoever.
I like the name, honestly. Why they replaced Dangerous Game with Triumph, I'll never know, but...
Man, they should put it back. I loved the old rune. I loved the name of the old room more so
like,
than...
flavor-wise, it just makes more sense than Triumph.
Definitely, right. Well,
Triumph seems like a stacking type of rune. Anyways, go ahead.
Well, I want to thank everybody who participated today, everybody who watched the podcast today. Anybody interested in watching more of these podcasts, you can find them here on my YouTube channel. I'll be leaving a description down below, or you can come join on the stream. I said earlier that I'll be trying to do these on Thursdays, but seeing as I have practice that will be happening on Thursdays, I might be trying them sometime midday on Saturdays. And hopefully my friends here will join me again for another episode at some point or another, and one of them doesn't sleep through it.
That's not gonna work, huh? Fine.
But thank you guys for watching, and thank you guys for joining me, and everybody have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful day.